Hi, I'm Faerisk, your new favorite artist. This year was the first time I participated in Artfight and I'm so excited to show you all my attacks. This will be a long video where I talk about each of my attacks, all defenses, a lot of OCs, and even some drama that I faced this year. So grab something to draw and we will get right into it. Before I show you all the beautiful artwork, let me very quickly explain what Artfight is so everyone is on the same track. Artfight is an art gifting game that is held every year in the month of July. Artists can choose between two teams every year. This year it was Crystals versus Fossils, for example. I was on Team Crystals, of course. The event is held to focus on original characters and receiving fan art of them from other people. These artworks will gain you points for your own team based on the artwork's complexity, and in the end the team with the most attacks/points wins. But to be honest, everyone wins, because the focus is drawing other people's OCs and creating or receiving artwork for fun. Now let's start with my first attack. I took advantage of the new organization feature and had a folder with OCs I wanted to prioritize. I thought it would be smart to just choose the first character in the list, so I ended up choosing Mori. All the artwork was so cute and pastel. I thought it would be the perfect start and he was right up my alley. His description said he is an elf who seems a little shy, who likes things all pink and loves wearing different types of clothing, so I made sure to capture that as much as possible. I really liked his hairstyle and I love dressing up characters in a way that I think will suit them. So I had lots of fun putting his new outfit together. I also wanted to set up the general tone of all my attacks with this one. Although my rendering style fluctuated throughout the month, over the whole month I managed to get 22 attacks done, which I didn't even plan for, and I'm super proud that I was able to do so. Even though university was kicking my ass, and I'm honestly still not done with my assignments at the time of editing this video, I'm kind of using this video as a way to procrastinate. Anyways, don't you think this is already looking so adorable? I also used a few tricks to add a simple background. Here is my first finished attack of Mori. Let's submit it together, shall we? I was a bit unsure how to label my first attack, so I looked up the guidelines again. I wrote something nice and made sure to tag it correctly. I know I could have selected full shading since this is lit by a light source that affects the whole piece, but I wanted to play it safe this time. Since this is a friendly fire attack, I only received 15 points for my first attack, but I think that doesn't matter anyways. Look, I also gained my first achievement. Let's move on to my second attack. I chose Ciel to attack. He's a Genshin OC with a Hydro Vision, and I thought his design was just so beautiful. You will see that I will have a pattern going on with pointy-eared characters here. No, seriously, I think I chose characters with elf ears 90% of the time. Ciel's profession is being a novelist, and he is a character that is more quiet and keeps to himself, so also does what I like. As I did with most attacks, I started out with laying down the overall shape of the pose with a light gray color, which I then used as a guide for the base sketch, or rather the skeleton of the composition. I struggled a bit to get the angles right, but when I managed to make it look convincing enough, I was super happy with the result. Whenever I start drawing what's below the face, I prefer to draw the whole unclothed body just to see where all the clothes go, where I need to place everything anatomically correct, and where to consider where the fabric scrunches and stretches over the body. You can also easily draw out all the limbs and then just erase all the parts that are clothed, and I promise you it will be worth it in the end. If you don't want to lose all the work from figuring out all the anatomy underneath the outfit, I would consider duplicating the unclothed body layer and hide it for later. You can always use it and reference it for later artworks, and your work won't be for nothing. His description allowed outfit changes, so I thought a cropped shirt would be super cool to show off his wings. I also decided to do this exact pose to show off the wings as well. My strategy to save time was on the one hand to heavily reference the pose on the side, and to also use my cleaned up sketches as final line art. I really like the frame I added in the background, it really added to this piece. I finished it off with a few final touches and then it was already done. And here is the final artwork. This got me 63 points. For my third attack, I decided on Siren, an idol OC that had such a beautiful and modern design, but when I read the name and the permission to also design a mermaid form for him, I couldn't resist. I think I was kind of inspired by my own OC Lyrian, who is also a Siren character, which you will later see when I add the jewelry on this character. I also think every Siren character deserves long, flowy hair. It's a must at this point. The rendering of the water isn't perfect, but I really like how it looks. I was figuring out the lighting as I was drawing. Sometimes I felt like I didn't put my everything into some attacks, and I even felt a little guilty when my attacks weren't the most creative pose or concept possible. I was always weighing off the amount of work I put into the complexity of an artwork and how much time I want to spend on it, and I decided that I would have the most fun if I kept it simple this year, instead of possibly overworking myself in my first year, which could have resulted in wanting to quit all over because I would burn myself out too quickly. I settled with the idea of compensating my boring poses and concepts with rendering. You will especially notice this with my later pieces, I think. I really like how the reflection of him in the water looks like and the final lighting effects I added to create a special mood. Here's another finished attack. I received 46.5 points. We are now moving on to Wings Club OC, and when I discovered her, I knew I had to draw her. This was also a revenge because Tsunami Kaze attacked my girl Serafina, who is also a Wings Club OC, and this was also the first defense I received this year. Aliona is the fairy of the ocean core, similar to what the sun is to the sky, and I think she is such a baddie, I just had to draw her. By the way, at the end of the video you can check out all the attacks that I received, and I will also say something about each of them. They really deserve praise, and a big thank you for attacking me and making my first year on Artfight so special. I don't have a lot to say about the process of this artwork, since it all went so smoothly. But this is another example of my rather uncreative choices when it comes to poses and compositions. But I'm seeing this as a huge potential for my art, rather than something to be sad about. Whenever I feel like my art is missing something special, I can already feel a leap of art style development in the tip of my fingers. So to be honest with you, I'm getting a bit excited the more I think about ways to improve. Studying ways to improve my artworks could also be a great future video. Additionally, I am super happy I was able to draw some fan characters this year. I didn't think I would come around to do that at all when I first browsed for OCs before Artfight started. Here is the finished fourth attack. I got 69.5 points. My next attack was done on Pedro. And I mean, look at him. He has pointy ears and is a vampire. Yatogami Love really cooked with this design, and I knew it was fate when I saw he was very fashionable as well. My aim was to create an interesting angle for him, but unfortunately this wasn't the best choice because in my opinion I didn't really make it look that great. I was just having a bad art day, I think. I'm still happy I was able to draw him. He is so gorgeous and also right up my alley. Unfortunately, I didn't come around to draw more vamp OCs, but I will make sure to do that next year. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have days where I really question my skills, especially when it comes to anatomy. I'm still learning, of course, but some days I just think my brain isn't braining like it usually does. I was happy to see that Pedro's owner was still happy to receive the attack, and I got a few really nice comments on this piece too. By the way, you should really follow me on Instagram. Attack number 5, done. He got me 31 points. Attack number 6 was another revenge. Mira is a fashion girly who likes vintage clothes and Sanrio. This was another more light-hearted portrait attack that reminded me a lot of my older artworks. I like her green eyeshadow, her glasses, and her overall color scheme. She looks like she would post her outfit of the day on TikTok every day. I could certainly use some of her fashion advice. Thanks again for attacking me first. And so, attack number 6 was done. For her, I received 21 points. Attack number 7 was on another OC with pointy ears, and his name is Keiji, and he loves going to fashion shows. Keiji was another revenge, and I chose him due to his very flashy shirt and pink skin color. I thought it would be a great challenge to tie these colors together because I usually struggle with that. Neon colors can be my thing, and I don't know why, I'm currently avoiding them somehow. I will probably use this observation and focus on that in future color studies. The more I recognize these things in my art, the more I want to spend time studying and improving. This is the finished attack, and it got me 35 points. Moving on to the 8th attack, which is kind of special to me, because it was a revenge and it kickstarted a very cool interaction with Nairen's owner. I saw Arctic's profile and we had a lot of things in common, so I thought it would be cool to get some connections through Artfight, and we definitely connected through our OCs, which I appreciate a lot. I'm glad we met each other this year. Besides that, I was inspired by one of the uploaded artworks for her and based my attack around that. I wanted to get a dynamic shot and highlight her expression and her face in particular so I could show off her glowing jewelry. I'm not perfectly satisfied with the outcome, but at least I got to put down the exact image I had in mind. And it was definitely cool to struggle through this and see where I can improve in the future. Because I did develop a strategy to get these artworks done faster, I'm currently highly considering opening commissions on my Ko-fi page. Please tell me down below if you would be interested in that. I really like doing commissions, but the demand is usually non-existent because my marketing is also non-existent. Anyways, here's the finished artwork, which gained me 61.75 points. My next attack is also a special one because this was the first attack on a character from an artist I know in real life. December is a D&D character with a homebrew species called Salif, and he's able to grant power and knowledge through a celestial contract, which to me sounds super interesting. I really like his pink hair and sense of fashion, and I was allowed to give him a new outfit too. I didn't have to think really hard about what outfit I want to give him. I knew I wanted to see him in some lace. As you can see, I sketched out the whole body again before moving on to add the clothes. It really helps with the silhouette of the outfit. To be honest, he's giving me K-pop idol in this pose and outfit, but I kinda like it this way. Whenever I'm too lazy for backgrounds, I add the artwork in the background with very low opacity and increase the sizing. This is something I have seen many artists do as a quick background fix, and to me it looks very interesting even though it's very low effort. Here's December, who gained me 49 points in total. Let's move on to my 10th attack, which got me into a bit of drama over on TikTok. Nightcore Angel is such a cool OC, and I really wanted to capture this specialness in the pose I picked for this attack. Unknowingly, I decided to use the 3D poser tool from Clip Studio to get the pose down I had in mind. As you can see, it's super dynamic, and personally I think I really peaked here. But some people on TikTok thought otherwise and left heated comments on my speed paint video that I posted over there. Apparently, I was violating the game's rules because I allegedly used a base and traced it, which in the commenters' heads included 3D poses. As this unfolded, I kind of panicked and frantically read through the comments and discovered that someone posted a screenshot that referred to the rule that I was supposedly violating. Here's the screenshot of that, and initially this Q&A answer could be interpreted in a way that you would think that the commenters were correct. Using 3D models is against the rules, such as using bases is. But first of all, this isn't the original rule on the rules subsection on the website, and second of all, it is not defined what a 3D model is referring to. Does it include tools like 3D posing tools included into art programs, or 3D model assets in general? I mean, full-on 3D assets like houses or objects in general, that someone else designed and you just acquired somewhere and added to your artwork to sell off as your own work. But obviously, that wasn't what I was doing, and the 3D model isn't even visible in the final piece either. I think there was also a general misconception that I scraped a 3D base from Pinterest, for example, and that this pose wasn't my own creation, but as I told you, I came up with it myself. Here's what the original rules posted on the artfight/rules page say. Under Upload Rules, rule number 1 says you are not allowed to use images you didn't create to trace them. Rule number 3 states that bases are not allowed, not even self-made bases. You're allowed to use pre-made brushes and assets though. You could argue that a 3D model is a base, but in the end it's not addressed specifically nor excluded entirely. Especially by saying that pre-made assets and brushes are allowed to be used, I feel like I'm not in the wrong here. Either way, I don't want to argue my way into being allowed to do what I think is right. I can simply wait and see what the Artfight team will decide in the end, because yes, some people went out of their way to report my attack using my own TikTok video as evidence. I decided to not take it down though. I'm not gonna be mad if they take down my attack, but I'm sad that people would rather argue and hate in my comments, spending time on reporting such a silly grey area incident like this one, instead of using that time to draw something for their Artfight friends. I also want to be transparent and say that not all commenters left aggressive comments. Some really meant well and just wanted to hint at the rules for me to reread them. Anyways, I'm still proud of the end result and received a thank you from Nightcore Angel's owner, so nothing to be sad about. At the time of recording this, I gained 31 points for this attack. Let's move on. For my 11th attack, I thought it would be smart to attack some quote-unquote beginner artists, which is why I created a TikTok for people to comment their team cards under. I chose this very cute OC called Emily, and I thought it would be nice to design her a new outfit. This was done very quickly, but it was my first full body artwork of the season, so it gained me a total of 30 points besides its simplicity. I ended up attacking another person from the last TikTok, and this was Night Knights in Faerisk. I found his artwork to be very cool, and I received the impression that this is a very troubled character with an amazing backstory. His green flames stood out to me, and I was looking forward to incorporate them into my piece. I kicked off with the usual method and added his details one by one. I can tell you, I did not like drawing the fur on his shoulders. I think it's pretty hard to make it look decent. Funnily enough, I had to do that for another character in a later attack as well. I still think it looks good enough in the final piece. I'm extra happy with the way the flames in the backgrounds look, and that I decided to make his eyes glow too. Although the posing is rather simple, I think the end result is very cool to look at. Inferius scored 69.5 points total. The next attack finally targeted a Baldur's Gate character, and I'm pretty sure this was a revenge. I was intrigued by the fact that she is a drow and her design looked really epic. I just love this crown you can wear in the game, so I knew I had to draw her. Her description revealed her to be a storm sorceress, so I had a special idea for that and added a lightning border around her. The whole piece was supposed to look like those classic regal portraits because it felt like her original reference already had that vibe, but I wanted to add a modern twist on it. I'm so happy with all the choices I made for this artwork. It's one of my favorites from this year. In the end, I received 38.5 points for this attack. Now we'll move on to another attack that is also a bit special. I don't quite remember how I found Lucius, but he is a floaty vampire and his permission allowed shipping your OCs with him, and I straight up thought about an interaction between him and my OC Alistair. I was desperate to draw him at this point, because it had been a while, and I used this opportunity to post this TikTok. I knew exactly what type of poses I wanted them in. The overall scene was supposed to be very flirty. I looked for a lot of references on Pinterest and mashed some of them together for this. Lucius was also someone with a very cute and androgynous/feminine fashion sense, which is always a plus for me, so I made sure to give him a pretty outfit that suits his vibe. I am really happy with how I drew Lucius, but I think Alistair's hair looks a bit stiff here. I'm pleased with all the lighting choices I made for this one though. It was supposed to convey an intimate moment between the two characters. I think it's so cool that I was able to draw a character interaction this time, especially because I wanted to do that for a long time with my favorite OC, so thank you to the King Verge for allowing me to do so. I got 115.75 points for this attack, by the way, and I think this was my biggest attack so far. My 15th attack was done on the Widow by Just Lotus, and I mean, look at her, this is such a cool character. I was mainly inspired by one of my old tarot card designs I made 3 years ago. Because I was starting to feel overwhelmed at this point, it was already week 3 of Artfight, I wanted to keep it as simple as possible and then tweak the final artwork with a few editing tricks like blurry line art, layer modes, and a white frame around the artwork. Even though it's simple, it still goes hard, if I may say so. I gained 28 points for this attack. The next attack was again chosen from one of my comments on my TikToks, as someone suggested I should attack their brother, and that's why I chose Mal as my next attack victim. I thought his design was so cute, and I can tell there was a lot of thought put into his exterior. Once I started to put down his details, I noticed this for sure, but in the end it really makes him look unique and alternative, despite him being a regular human character, if you know what I mean. I was also trying to guess what type of personality would suit him, as there wasn't a lot of background for him to read into, but I thought since he's 16 years old, it would be realistic to assume he's a little moody, trying to stay cool and nonchalant, as the kids say. I really like his little button and his arm warmers. His shirt is so cool and I wish I could wear it. Let's ignore the fact that I forgot his little hip cutouts in the second drawing. Generally, I am a big fan of those fashion magazine inspired pose layouts which many artists are doing right now, me included of course. That's why I think the final piece is very appealing. Here's another attack done and it gave me 49 points. Moving on to another revenge, I attacked Beastle and decided to pick a character that hadn't got many attacks yet, because all of their designs are amazing, so it was hard to choose in the first place. Youngsun is a real baddie as well. I chose to draw a simple portrait attack again. I was feeling a little low at this point in time, but I'm glad I pushed through, because the result is still nice to look at. I definitely saved this piece with the lighting effects. I'm telling you, once you figure out how to add rim lighting and bounce lighting in your artwork, it will easily look like you're a pro. Keeping the background simple really helped with finishing pieces more quickly, but I hope I will be able to draw more creative and fantastical backgrounds next year. Youngsun gained 31 points. Let me show you my 18th attack, which was another Faerisk. His name is Dust and he was born into a royal Fae lineage, hence the wings I'm assuming. This attack was another revenge, so I looked through Seth Lee's characters and was intrigued by Dust's color scheme. Yellow is one of my least favorite colors of all time, and as you can see, this is his main color. To be precise, it's gold, but it comes down to the same struggle anyways. It felt challenging to try to make this work for me, so that's what I did. I used a mix of a pose I found on Pinterest and a reference pic of myself for the hand poses specifically. I was also looking forward to interpreting his outfit design, in particular his hand jewelry. Also, another tip for easier backgrounds: look up references to gather some ideas for your background, and if you have to, color pick them. Color pick your colors from there and use a hard brush to put down all the shapes you need. Take your reference into close consideration. Oftentimes I put the reference down 1:1, exactly how I see it in the picture. In the end, you put on a Gaussian blur effect to hide illogical mistakes and the messiness of the hard brush drawing. It doesn't have to look perfect because you're gonna blur it in the end. It will look super realistic and you will have drawn it yourself, so it doesn't look like a photo slapped in the background. I highly recommend using leaf pattern brushes if you are only gonna use them for backgrounds anyways. I also duplicate the final artwork, blur it, and erase the middle part with a big airbrush so everything looks dreamier and in turn more appealing to the eye. Finally, I think the addition of the lens flare made the final artwork look much more magical. This artwork achieved 84.75 points. The next attack was another one of my absolute favorites of this year, and the attack that took me the longest. I picked two characters from Paper Star Art, whose D&D OC Cecilia I have drawn multiple times before, and she has something going on with Darth? I hope I pronounced his name correct, who is an NPC from the same campaign she's in. I I have been eyeing him for a while now, and because I already had a few Cecilias under my belt, I originally planned to draw him alone. Then I couldn't get the thought out of my head how much I love seeing them interact. Cecilia is just so relatable and Darth is just so handsome, so I settled with a romantic interaction between the two, which had me struggle with the posing a lot. I kind of managed to get it done, but to be honest it took me a whole day to get that right. I always see Cecilia holding a book, so why not use that as an interaction moment? I love having backgrounds that set up intimate scenes, so a library was the perfect fit. I quickly put down everything without focusing on all the details, because as explained earlier, I blurred the background anyway. To get this done faster, I used multiply layers to shade over both of them and added a little bit of bounce light. This attack scored 104 points total. The attack after that had to be something more simple. I picked out Emily from another person who commented on one of my TikToks, if I'm correct, and I decided on a simple headshot again. I wanted to draw something bright and happy, and Emily was the perfect fit. She reminded me of the movie Barbie Fairytopia, and so I used colors adjacent to the movie's color scheme. Here's the finished attack, which gained 47.25 points. Here we are at the second to last attack. Whew! This was an easy choice, as I had been eyeing Yarick since the moment I attacked Arctic's Neighborhood as my 8th attack / revenge and had already received a lot of attacks from Arctic at this point. My original plan was to stop at 20 attacks, but we were having such a cool conversation and I was super interested in him after she said he is a gentle giant and she drew me some shipping art between him and my boy Alistair. I couldn't help but draw him after that. I settled with a simple headshot because I wanted to practice drawing his face. I already told his owner I wanted to draw him and Alistair together after Artfight ends, so I thought it would be smart to practice drawing his features. I don't know why, but it was one of my bad art days again, so I struggled with this artwork. I will 100% practice drawing him again soon. I really want to nail down his design with my full potential. I also noticed that I like to draw the same head angle all the time, so I tried to hide that with flipping the canvas in the end. So happy I was able to do this as one of my last attacks. This attack gained me a total of 31 points. Now let's finally talk about my last attack. This attack was a last-minute decision, since I don't like odd numbers and I was considering attacking Aquamarine Arts from the very beginning of July. I picked her character Lynn after I watched her OC introduction video and grew a liking to his design and backstory. Generally speaking, I really love her content, so please check her out if you can. She made a few really cool videos about her Artfight experience, and maybe you will see my artwork in her latest video too. Anyways, I saw that some people had drawn him in OG fashion clothes, and his original design was also very similar to that style too, so I knew I wanted to do that for my fan art of him as well. First, I was too lazy to add a real background, but then I was looking for a way to shade the piece and figured a ballroom would look super cool and match his backstory as well. The reason why I decided to do ballroom background is, in short, his parents have high expectations for him to use his supernatural powers for family business purposes. He abides to their expectations and acts confidently, using his power if necessary, but this is also just a facade he is putting up. And because his family is very wealthy, they often have to attend events to connect with possible business partners, I guess. This story is also right up my alley and the reason I decided to create this final attack. I'm glad I pushed this one out as the last one. It was a great wrap up. This final piece ended up scoring 46.25 points. Now let me show you my stats after 1 month of pushing out attack after attack. My total battle ratio ended up being 39.29%, which means I got more defenses from other people than I made attacks in total. And I made 22 attacks, remember? I'm proud that I got more defenses than attacks I put out, because I didn't even expect I would get more than 10 defenses, maybe, but in the end I got 34 defenses. I couldn't be happier. And in the end I managed to gain a total of 1,097.5 points for Team Crystals. I didn't expect that the end result would be that high at all. Hopefully I helped a bit to get Team Crystals to win, but I don't really care about that too much. I love Team Fossils since we were able to exchange so many amazing artworks with another. If you've managed to watch until now, feel free to drop your Artfight usernames so I can check out your profiles and maybe attack you next year. I will do a quick reflection of my experience as a first-time art fighter, and after that we will look at all the amazing defenses I received. First of all, this year's art fight was everything and nothing like what I expected it to be. I had already started to prepare since March, and I was so excited to join in July. I already started bookmarking characters and looked forward to the experience, and checked out the website almost every day. When I prepped all of my reference sheets, I was already super excited to see if other people would want to draw them, and in the end the reception had exceeded my expectations. Once I started to post on my TikTok profile that I am looking for people to attack or just what my recent attacks looked like, I noticed I gained more followers and attacks on my profile, so if you felt a little neglected, I would suggest you put yourself out during the month, and I'm sure you won't be left untouched by the amazing community of artists. I've seen some drama and problems, yes, but also so many amazing artists that went out of their way to create a positive experience for others as well. And if you focus on that, you will also have a mostly beautiful experience. I kept my expectations so on purpose. It's not fun for anyone to expect attacks, to expect comments or praise for your artworks. You should do it because you want to and because you like creating art, and if you make the other person happy, then you can be even prouder of yourself. But numbers and such shouldn't be the main focus. In the end, it's a gifting game. And that's my 2 cents on Artfight 2025. Now I will do a quick thank you round for all the defenses I received this year, and you should 100% stay and have a look. I got gifted so many amazing artworks for my OCs, it's honestly insane. First round is on Alistair. He looks so dark and mysterious here, love the vibe. I love pixel art so much, thank you. He looks so polite, it's adorable. You really made him look like a Fae prince. I audibly gasped at this, he looks like a beautiful princess. Damn right for you to undress him like that. Yeah, you already know how I feel about this one, girl. Another cute pixel version of my boy, so cute. Didn't know I needed a chibi version of him, but look at him. Next round is on Shuma. Love that you spent the time for a full body attack, I love it. The vibe is immaculate and you really captured his tragic beauty. I literally died and came back as a ghost to drool over this art style. Oh, the beautiful, beautiful man you are. This art style is so scrumptious and you made him look so edible. He looks so dark and mysterious, I'm weak. This one is just so relatable. A mass attack and he looks so good? Crazy work. Girl, you popped off, you look so cool here. Trace is next. Another amazing mass attack and Trace looks so pretty. The pose, hello, work. Such a pretty baby, thank you so much. I love the use of green here and they look so sassy too. A whole ass animation? I was speechless. Thank you so much. Next up is Lyrian. My first ever defense and I was speechless to be honest. This is so pretty and captures him so well. Such a distinguished gentleman, aw. Hal goes next. This art style is crazy cool, she looks so much like herself. Such a dynamic pose, I love it. The lighting adds so much to this and her pose is also so much like her. Next one is Lucifer. This is so moody and the eyes really tie you in. Yeah man, that's him right there. So handsome in this art style. Next up is Trill. Period, you really nailed her cheeky side. She looks like a runaway princess here, so pretty. Next in line is Serafina. This is so cute, love her eyes. Amazing use of glitter for the Fairy of Glam. I am eating so well with all these mass attacks, thank you so much. Finally we got Luna. My sad little baby, you really captured her well. And that's all for this year's defenses. A huge thank you for everyone who took their time to draw my characters. I cannot describe how grateful I am. And thanks to everyone who watched until the end of the video. That's all on my 2025 art fight experience. I will go now and create even more OCs for next year. I would appreciate it if you checked out my socials. Links are all posted in the description of the video. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.